Army life in our sleepy little village was about to be turned upside down by events taking place 8,000 miles away in the icy waters of an island nobody had even heard of. Everybody was in a fairly jovial mood at the time, because we were about to go on Easter block leave for a fortnight. It was a particularly happy time for me, as I was taking Carol home to Dalton to meet my mom and dad. The initial warning was given at 10:45 hours, Friday the 2nd of April 1982, 2 hours before we were officially off on leave, which left us all well hacked off. No one was going anywhere. Guys and other units who had already gone home had been called as soon as they got there in order to do an about turn and set off back to camp. It was a bolic, but it was all part and parcel of being a professional soldier. The army owned us, and that was that. The mood improved once we found out what the crack was. Some Argentinians had apparently invaded an island somewhere off the coast of Scotland, and we all got very excited about the thought of going up there and giving the cheeky bastards a good kicking. The buzz carried on even after some bright spark took the time to look at a map. We started the huge task of preparing the whole battery for the real McCoy. It was something we trained for, but somehow, in my day at least, didn't quite think you'd ever do. I'd always been a fairly keen soldier underneath it all, and now I upped my focus still further, really getting stuck in. As T Battery was part of the Army's Ace Mobile Force, we were on standby to be sent to any trouble spots around the world on very short notice. That meant we had first dibs on any working equipment, so all our duff bits of kit, and we had a lot of them, were exchanged with our sister battery, 58 Airs. They were left with virtually nothing that worked. Good job no one told the Soviets that faulty kit doesn't matter too much if you're on exercise, as nobody's really going to get hurt. I wish I had a pound for the times I've heard, well, we'll be going home tomorrow, lads. We live to play another day, but war is different. You usually only get one chance. And I shudder to think what would have happened if 58 BT had been needed for an operational tour after we left. This woeful lack of equipment really was a sad state of affairs, and one which hasn't improved. Given all the stories of lads being deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan with no body armor and not enough rounds and faulty radios, unbelievably, given that the army is as bureaucratic and lethargic as any major government institution, we were ready to go and kick some Latin American RCs by 1800 hours. On Saturday, the 3rd of April 1982, I gave Carol a quick phone call, a minute or two, tops. She would probably have appreciated a little more effort on my part, but I was full of nervous excitement about the prospect of going to war, and relationships were not high on my list of priorities. And then we were on the road. It took us 16 hours on a shagged-out old army bus to get from Curtin to the docks in Plymouth, Devon. But we loved every minute. We felt like heroes already, as news had leaked out to the media by now, and Joe Public had a good idea where we were going. All the way down, motorists were beeping their horns and Union Jacks appeared from everywhere to wave us on our way. It made me feel really proud for once in my life. We all got quite carried away by the patriotism of the people, and all the flag waving and cheering, and I had a lump in my throat all the way down there. But like most people, if I'd had to put my wages on it, I'd have said it would all turn out to be a false alarm, and that as soon as we arrived in Plymouth the Archies would bottle it and sod off home for a corned beef buddy. The ship in which we were going to sail halfway around the world was a grey flat-bottomed old rust bucket called the RFA Royal Fleet Auxiliary, Sergeant. The RFA is a civilian manned fleet owned by the MOD, whose main task is to resupply the warships of the Royal Navy at sea so they can remain operational while away from base, but it also provides secure sea transport for Army units and their equipment. The Sergeant reminded me of the sort of old-fashioned tub you saw on the telly when the US Marines were about to invade some Pacific island crawling with Japs. She didn't exactly fill me with confidence, but as it turned out, she was a trusty old thing, and was one of the very few that didn't take a direct hit. Mind you, I almost missed the boat altogether. On the last day of shore leave in Plymouth, I was nearly run over by a taxi whilst looking for a barber shop. I had to look smart for my last session in the local hostelries of Union Street. I had many a free pint bought for me that night by the many backslappers and armchair warriors, and I was grateful for everyone. Our leader GBH left us at Plymouth so he could sail south on HMS Fearless to coordinate our role in the bigger picture of things with the other senior officers. We were now part of 3rd Commando Brigade and would be cruising down with 79 BT of 29 Commando Regent, RA, and a key element of 3 Commando Brigade. These boys were all Commando qualified and trained in Arctic warfare, helicopter and amphibious assault, and, in many cases, parachute assault too. They were also very fine gunners. They knew us as crab hats, shortened to just hat. If you Dan-T wear a red parachute regiment or green Royal Marines beret in the British Armed Forces, you are known as a crab hat, unless you wear the beige-colored one of the SAS, but we hats do have our moments, as we'll see later on. The long process of loading all the stores on board began. It won't surprise you to read that the only thing we ever seemed to load was boxes of beer, like a line of khaki-clad alcoholic ants filling their nest. Well, it was going to be a long journey. We finally set sail on Tuesday the 6th of April 1982. Later, when I came back home, I remember watching TV pictures of the Paris sailing off into the horizon on the luxury liner Canberra, with thousands of people waving and women flashing their boobs. Some of the lads started throwing coins to them. I don't know if it's some sort of naval tradition, but I remember thinking it should have been the other way around. Still, he gave a toss. I wasn't really going to war, was I?